Welcome to Priavo Stories, a series of conversations shaped by real experience, real stories, and real people from across the Priavo Group. With me today, we have Celine Shabbas, co-founder of the Priavo Security Group, a leading global risk and security management company. Welcome to Celine.
Hi, Rom.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Before we get into anything serious, what do people actually misunderstand about what you do?
That's a really good question. So just to summarise what we do, we're a global risk management company. Essentially, we protect people, manage risk, secure assets, and we work for multiple different sectors, so mainly across corporate, maritime and private individuals. And I would say the biggest misconception is clients turn up and see the security on the day. They do not see the days, weeks, and sometimes months of planning behind the scenes. So countless decisions, countless stakeholders. That's what's happening when you talk about that sort of calm and under the surface. And you see planning, structure, strategy, and it is very structured, but it could be months of contingency planning, threat assessments, intelligence gathering, logistics, stakeholder management, deconfliction. It goes on and on and on. And you often have groups of people getting us to a certain point. So the client will turn up on the day and have an uneventful meeting, journey, successful outcome. Everyone's safe, people feel happy, but they do not see the weeks prior. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions in security. And I find the irony in that is the better we become at planning, the more sophisticated we are at all this operational security, Gucci stuff behind the scenes, the less visible we become to our clients.
I've got the added benefit and bonus of now being part of this amazing company and indeed understanding what you're talking about from both the client and the security aspect with all the experience I've got. But for you as a co-founder, when that job is handed over to your team, what happens to you then? What do you do?
I think on the board, there are 4 of us on the board. So Pete Murphy, my business partner and CEO, Riz Omar, Executive Board member, and he's CEO of Locate Global, a company that I'm heavily involved with. We've got a new director, JP, who's just joined us, and he will be running the trading floor. My role really is strategic foresight, planning, longer term view, financial governance, and setting the direction for the group now.
Amazing.
So I just get back to that. It's busy. We've grown quite a lot in the last 5 years post-COVID. So that strategic planning, that coordination, we've got 4 companies now. We've got a growing team. We work in multiple risk environments, across multiple cultures, countries. So that's quite a demanding role.
And I definitely can relate and understand to that. But let's talk about you and what inspired you to start the business and what did you want to do differently within the security sector?
Okay, so the security sector was new for me, but running international business was not. I came out of a board position and decided to set up a security company with my co-founder, my business partner, and it was really important for me that security was human, not transactional. That was a big thing. I'd done sort of 15 years at corporate level and that was important. So it was about protecting what matters most for people, for our clients, and understanding the people behind the security brief, not just the brief itself. My experience now is that risk is not just physical, it's cultural, it's political, it's social. And I wanted to build a team and build a business rooted in our brand values. So our brand values, hopefully you're familiar with these now, but fortitude, integrity, adaptability, loyalty. So it's really important to build a business based on those brand values, recruit a team that live and breathe those brand values. And I think that is 100% what inspired me back then, and that's what drives me today.
Yeah, and I can certainly feel that drive every time that we are surrounded with one another within the company and the meetings that we have. When we talk about a strong global reputation, you guys have built that, and now I'm part of that. But what do you think was your driving success is in such a competitive space?
Right, well, you've got to go back to 2011. And that's when we set the company up. And actually, I just had my little baby girl, and we were looking to set up a business. And I think back in 2011, our sort of people's mind shift were shifting. So and customers, their wants, their needs, desires, it was shifting. So I worked in with corporates and ultra high net worths, and they were moving away from large transactional providers to something more responsive, more bespoke, more discreet, something that spoke to the world they live in. So that we were definitely noticing that shift in those markets. The other thing that really informed the way we set up was our backgrounds. So I'd worked 15 years at corporate board level for a PLC. I really understood the ultra high net worth and corporate market. I understood what drove their decision making and what their expectations were from service, delivery, trust, discretion. Pete, my business partner, ex-Special Forces, like 14, 15 years Special Forces, longer in the military, he brought deep operational experience and expertise. So we married those perspectives, and I think we created something quite unique, a bespoke, founder-led boutique business guided by strategic decision making and underpinned by his operational depth. So I think back then that we didn't adapt to the market. I think Pete and I built the business for what the market needed at that time.
Our work is highly international. How important is cultural understanding and diversity in delivering security effectively?
This is a big one. So this goes back to the question before, and this is something I'm really passionate about. And it goes back to, you asked me about my board position and what I undertake on a daily basis. This would very people-centric, but international diversity. So 90% of our client base is international. And we have invested heavily in a really strong global network because of that. So from day one, like from back in 2011, 2012, we were investing in a global network. We saw the international market, and we were quite excited about that. Pete, from his background, was Special Forces, international all the time. He was never in the country longer than 2 minutes. Me in my corporate board role, I had sort of responsibility for over 15 countries at one point, and I love that. Different diversity informs different decisions. So we've got this network of providers in countries, and they understand their country, they understand their region, they understand what's respectful, what's not, how to operate. And I think that's sort of key to our success. It goes back to the point that security isn't always process. It's about how do people react under pressure? What happens when something goes wrong? What's considered respectful? What's not? How do you operate in a certain country, in a certain language, in a certain culture? If you don't understand that as a risk manager, then you're adding risk into the system. You're not reducing it. So that's big for us. And I think all 4 board members would agree strongly diversity isn't a policy. I think these buzzwords that get floated around drive me nuts. I think for me, diversity is an operational, strategic advantage. So it's a large part of what we do. It's our strength. It's why I think we're winning business. It's why I really enjoy coming to work here, because I'm speaking with all different cultures, languages, people across different countries on a daily basis. I love it.
If we stick with the thread and the theme of that global, we know at the moment geopolitically, and we can't get away from or avoid, because that is our bread and butter, the global environment as to what's happening at the moment. How do you think that's shaping our organisation and it's making you think about security and risk?
Oh, yeah, it's really, the world's insane just now. It's geopolitically insane, and that is impacting our clients. Of course it is. I mean, we just had Iran break out in February. I understand we've reached a peace deal, but that created a lot of uncertainty. So for our clients, it's a really good question. It's no longer an isolated incident, right? So we've got to help our clients manage this geopolitical instability and think one step ahead. So we are helping our clients, our stakeholders, our partners manage ongoing uncertainty across multiple destinations, like navigating that. So that brings back the absolute importance of a strong global network and being agile for me, and just helping our clients with that foresight and managing that, because it's quite complex. It was complex with the Israel-Palestine war, Russia-Ukraine, then Iran. It's been a really, really busy few years for us. It's why I love my role on Locate Global with Riz Omar. Riz brought you in, right?
Yes, he did.
I think
Yeah.
you did the SRMC with Riz.
I had the pleasure of being instructed, taught, and guided by Riz, and yeah, he kindly invited me and introduced me to you guys as a company, and here we are 3 months later.
I know, right? It's
So
exciting.
It is really exciting, really exciting. Let's talk about leadership. Let's talk about your leadership styles, and tell me how your leadership has had to evolve through the business as it's grown, and as what we've just spoken about, as the world has become more unpredictable. How are you leading from the front?
I think I can use the Iran war as a really good example of this. So you're talking about when everything's unpredictable. So Iran in February, I think there's a lot of competing opinions. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of go now. And difficult decisions, last minute decisions. And I think as a leader, you have got to create clarity, you've got to stay anchored, and you've got to be a voice of reason when it's uncertain. I think that's a big challenge. I think for me, it's about providing clear and consistent communication and providing clarity, and also having a long-term view. So for me, it's involved moving away from the operational detail and into a far more strategic view at the moment, a strategic role. So when you've got all of this noise and short-termism, you've got somebody in the company that is thinking long-term, that has that overview and making those long-term decisions. And going back to the Iran war, I think I was helping even family members who are working for big international companies, and it's about getting the basics right, which is why I love Locate Global, because it's about monitoring your people, knowing where all your international workforce are, being able to communicate with them, and having the ability to respond if a situation escalates. And I think we can add value there with Locate Global, getting those basics right, and really noticed that a lot of those basics weren't in place for a lot of international companies operating out in the Middle East over the last sort of 6 months.
I mean, I can definitely feel and relate to that leadership style. We spoke about challenges, and we're talking about scaling a business. A key transition point where we're at the moment with a company which I'm now part of, and I sit here proudly being part of that. What are the biggest challenges when we scale a business at this level?
I think the biggest challenge currently for me is not losing what made you successful in the first place. So as founder and board director, I'm doing a lot of work on that, our culture, our people. If you don't retain that, you've lost the business. And then as you scale, you've got to retain that. You've got to intentionally retain your culture, your people, your brand values, and what made you unique. And that's a big challenge when you're scaling. I think what we've done what I've done is onboarded a new director to help with that, so we don't lose the essence of who we are as you grow. So we're a group now. There's 4 different companies. We've got different people. We've got people in different risk landscapes in different countries, like our supply chain, our contractors, our security personnel, our team. And that's a challenge. So we've brought in JP, and he's helping that scalability. So what got us here is not going to get us there. So we've hit some milestones, and we've realised that some of our operational model is outdated. It's just not working anymore. So we brought somebody in to give us a bit more headspace, and JP's going to help with operational structure, commercial acumen as we scale, and leadership capacity, which is really important. So we don't lose who we are, why we all started, the magic, as we scale into something with a larger international footprint.
Now, you've mentioned the directors, my bosses, our team, yourself, Pete, Riz, JP. I suppose one of the main questions I had, being part of this infrastructure, being part of this team, and I think that's something really close to your heart, is how do you protect your culture and the people as the business grows and the pressure increases?
Yeah, that's a challenge, but it's central to my role, so it's something I feel really passionate about. I learned a lesson early on in my career. So I worked on a corporate board for a PLC, so answerable to your shareholders. And the biggest lesson I learned then was, although revenue is really important, right, and you're hitting your turnover, gross profit margin, net profit, milestones, never sacrifice short-term gains for long-term value. And I think 10 years on the board in the city taught me that, definitely. The other thing that's really important is our strapline, which you'll know by now is protecting people's fundamental right to safety and security, right? We all really believe in that. That's got to start internally. So if we can't create a safe environment for our team, our stakeholders, our clients, our operatives, then we're not really practicing what we preach. So that's something we really focus, and I hope you've seen that during your short tenure at Priavo.
I certainly have, and it's very relatable to the network and the pipeline that I brought alongside, and the people that know me, they understand where I'm at, and they understand the infrastructure that we're part of, and the message that we convey, and that is protecting people properly, and I'm really proud to be part of that. For you in particular, strong leadership, what does that look like to you when it comes to setting direction and building a sustainable business?
Sustainable business, really important. It's about building a business, who you impact, who you take with you, how you show up every day, right? It clues in the question, setting a clear direction. We're multiple companies now across multiple time zones, cultures, countries. So if you don't set clear direction and your people don't know, they're all going to work in a different direction, the business is going to fail. So it's about having that tenacity on setting that clear direction. I think that's really important to me. In an unpredictable sort of landscape, for sure, that would be the key takeaway there in leadership. And I think as leaders, learn from your mistakes, definitely analyse and learn from your failures, but celebrate your wins. I think that's really important. So we did the DISC profile recently, and that was really important to me and the team. So we all know where we sit on the DISC profile. It's dominant, high inspire, stable, consistent. So I'm high I, so I like to have a lot of fun. So I'm very results driven. So I'm the one sort of setting those targets. So we've got like a 3 to 5 year business plan, a target we're setting, but it's never about the destination. It's never about hitting that target or hitting those business metrics for me. I know it sounds really cheesy, and I'm probably quoting Simon Sinek, who is a huge inspiration for me, but it's about the journey. and it's about getting there. So celebrating your wins, having fun along the way. Security can be really heavy. Geopolitics can be really serious. Regional instability can be complex. So I think life is quite short. So let's enjoy the journey. Let's celebrate each other's wins. Let's have adventures along the way. Let's have fun. You've got to come to work with these people in this environment every day. And I would like to think that at Priavo, there's that kind of fun, adventurous, cheeky, curious side to the business and the team. That's why I enjoy coming here.
Well, it's definitely kept me coming back.
Do you see that?
Yes,
then?
I do. Yeah. So let's not get away from the fact you are a female. You are a female founder, and a question I'd wrote, and I thought about this as well whilst I was reading and writing it, is what's your perspective on leadership as a female founder, particularly in a high pressure global environment within our world of security?
It was a little bit of a shock when I first started up in security. I think the thing I've learned is I've always led in a male-dominated space. So security is male-dominated, as you know. And prior to that, I was in aviation, which was male-dominated. I was one of 2 females on the board, the rest were male. And the biggest lesson I've learned is you do not have to lead like everybody else to be effective. I really believe this. So message for other female leaders out there. I think things that are often underlooked that females can offer in a leadership position is relationship building, cultural awareness, being present for your team, high empathy, big for me, high emotional intelligence. All of those things are really critical for the way we run the business today. I think that's really helped our success, and I'd like to think that's what I bring as a female founder. It's not always the loudest voice in the room. It's about showing up and being present for your team, bringing clarity, setting direction, bringing your team with you, wanting people to win. I think I'm ambitious, for sure, but I'm a mother. I've raised 3 girls. I'm an auntie to 5 teenagers. I'm a grandma to 2 little children. I'm a mother-in-law. I'm a sister-in-law. I'm a daughter-in-law. All of these things, juggling that alongside my career is really challenging. You mentioned a global international business. You have to make really difficult decisions. You have to have really difficult conversations. I think you have to bring your team with you. You have to be honest with your team about that, actually. So it's about a no bullshit approach for me. It's about bringing people with you. It's about balance as well. I'm really interested in leadership longevity. How do you scale without impacting your culture and what made you special in the first place? How do you scale at pace without burning your people out? It's big. How do you remain commercially astute whilst also being very aware of the human impact and the impact of people around you? That's really important to me. So what I would say is humanity and leadership aren't, although sometimes are in conflict, they can coexist. So I think if you get humanity, balance, being a female, running a household, having all those roles, and you can manage your ambition alongside your humanity and ensure that they can coexist. Listen, that's really hard. It's taken a long time to get to where I am. And I've definitely burnt myself out in my career trying to be the perfect female leader. And I've had quite a bit of coaching, learned from a lot of great leaders, take a lot of feedback, constantly ask my team for feedback. What went well, what didn't go well, what could I do differently, what would you change if you were in my position? So I think for women, just it can coexist. They're not in conflict. And if you get that right, you can build something that lasts.
Amazing. I've got a couple more questions. And one of my questions, you mentioned one key word, and I suppose the interesting part for me is as the business has grown, which once again I'm now part of, and it's still a bit of a pinch me moment being part of something like this.
We love having you
Yeah,
here.
I'm really enjoying being part of this this amazing company. As the business has grown, how do you think about your wider responsibility beyond just commercial success?
I think that's been for sort of front of mind since day one. I think if you're building a business and you're building a team, you've got a responsibility, not just to your clients, your stakeholders, your suppliers, your team, but to the community around you. I think that's really important. So I have quite part of my role is working with the local community, charities, our partners. And it's really important to me, and actually I've embedded it in our strategy and our kind of long-term goals, and it's central to how we operate. A lot of our team really enjoy that. Think about the global environment we operate in. Think about the geopolitical landscape just now. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people being displaced. I think you've got a moral obligation to contribute in a meaningful way in this space. I feel really, really passionate about that. In fact, my business partner and I, Pete, we've been working with refugee companies and charities and organisations for about 10 years now. We just celebrated Refugee Week. We're undertaking some really exciting projects there. We operate in maritime. All of our operatives are ex-military, ex-law enforcement, ex-police. So the three sectors that we have, our philanthropic practices, are in environmental, maritime, the sea, the ocean, local community, and also veteran charities. So I think all founders, all leaders have a responsibility to think about the impact they have, their business has, especially if you're a profitable private run business. What are you giving back into your community? It doesn't always need to be money. We do lots of different projects. You and I did a recent charity hike. Did we do 10 miles?
We did do 10 miles.
For one of my sort of oldest community partners, a school that's very underfunded, huge amount of SEND children, a wide variety of different additional needs, something that's very close to my heart with two sisters that have required additional care in their lifetime. And just that being the safeguarding lead, helping with the walk. What did we have? 300 kids?
Yeah, about 350 kids. It was a hot day. There was a lot of planning, management, expectation, humility, empathy. There were all these things that underpin what we do as a company and us as individuals. And again, I think that's why the fit worked, and they really enjoyed having us alongside. For me, it was a fantastic day, and it was an opportunity to showcase us as individuals outside of the office, which I think for you and the directors is key to seeing how somebody performs from a leadership perspective.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we'd have a Priavo Foundation, but I'm not sure the board would agree. But I think that's central to what we do. And in answer to your question, we've thought about that, and we've been working on that since day one. And I hope that's something you enjoy as part of your role. And I know you're jumping with me on another charity we support, Safe in Sussex. So domestic abuse, we're sponsoring a home that houses our women and children, and you're going to jump along and help with security advice because they're quite a vulnerable group. So essential to what I do in my role, something I really enjoy, love, want to do more of.
From a security industry perspective, when we talk about that alignment, and as a veteran-owned company, do you think it's important that we also align in this day and age with more veteran-owned companies, and we shape that direction and we share best practice? Is this something that we as a team should be leaning into more?
Yeah, 100%. So we worked with a lot of veteran charities last year, and I was hoping as your role evolves that you would help me with that. I see you've already joined a partnership, a networking group, so really exciting. Pete, our CEO, who's ex-Special Forces, he brings in a lot of the lads that are leaving on sort of transitioning them into the workplace. So 90% of what we recruit are ex-military, ex-law enforcement, but we work with a lot of people from back in the day that have then set up charities. So Bowra is one of them, for sort of head injuries and rehabilitation for ex-servicemen. We've worked with about 6 or 7 charities. Just jump on our website, actually, is what I would say to people, and you can see the different charities we support, and that's something Pete feels very passionately about. And then Riz, on the healthcare space, we work with sort of vulnerable groups, vulnerable nurses. So that's something else that we look at. NGOs, we support a lot of NGOs. Again, we can add real benefit there with the products that we've got, in terms of like monitoring, locating, evacuations, that type of thing. So we can offer actual tools, products and services into the NGO space, which is something we do in Locate Global. And local communities kind of sits with me and Corinne and a few others in helping the vulnerable groups and local community around us. But yeah, we've done that from day one.
Fantastic. You as an individual, as a female, as a founder, if you had to define leadership philosophy in one sentence, what would it be? But rather than a quick fire question, it's what's your definition of and your philosophy on leadership?
Oh, right. I need to summarise the last 40 minutes in a sentence. Yeah, put me on the spot, Rom.
That's why you got me in.
Yeah, true. Leadership, I guess, is not about being in charge. It's about wanting your people to win. It's about building a business that has a positive impact on the world. For us, it's protecting and improving people's fundamental right to safety. We all feel really passionate about that. It's about who you bring with you, who you impact. And leadership, importantly, is not the big things. It's about how you show up every single day.
Amazing. You have been listening to Priavo Stories, real conversations built on experience, perspective and the responsibility of protecting people properly. If you'd like to learn more, follow us on our socials, subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit priavosecurity.com.